Hey, wait, is this thing on? Oh, it is. Hey guys, this is, Editor Agent here, and I just wanted to inform you that we have a new goal, and the new goal is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Yeah, I know, it's a big goal from where we're at right now, but I believe in you. And, you, the viewer, yeah, you. If you look down slightly, yeah, keep looking, more. You see that? Yeah, that's the subscribe button. If you press it, you'll get notified about my videos and content. And every time I post, you will know about it. So yeah. And if you press the like button, you will show even more people about this spectacular content that you so love and enjoy. And also, just a random fact on the screen. There's just, new content that's going to come out when we reach 1,000 subscribers. I'm totally not spoiling anything, of course. But yeah, you know, editor editor agent, I guess, is probably writing some stuff on the screen. If he is, make sure you don't pay attention to it. Yeah, don't worry about it. I am not a sellout, by the way, so yeah, don't worry about what it says on the screen. Just completely ignore that. But yeah, I've wasted your time for enough. I've wasted your time enough. Unless you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, I'll wait. No, but like seriously, do it. Okay, so you probably did it by now. Back to your regularly scheduled program. What's up, guys? It's Agent What If, and I'm back with another episode of, I guess, not really another episode, but, a season 2 of sorts, right? Like, a restart. This is what if Deku was the son of Almight, revitalized. Because I just felt like I did the, I guess, video a disservice, and I didn't do as best as I could have, and it wasn't as good as it could have been. So I'm just doing it again because I think it has potential. And yeah, if you do think that I'm not gonna trash All Might in this, well, not really trash, but use All Might as a plot device in the story, you would be wrong. So yeah. But anyway, without any further ado, if you like this episode, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all of that. If this gets enough views and likes and stuff, I'll know that you guys want a part 2, and I'll do a part 2. So yeah, I've been gone for a little while because my family recently moved back down here, so I went down to go see them. So yeah, I'm back now, and the schedule will probably return. If it doesn't, it'll only be a hiccup for at least one more episode while things, get back on top. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. We start our story with Inko. Actually, no, not even Inko, just with All Might. All Might was currently tired. He was in the process of fighting All For One, and All For One was about to use his strongest attack, and All Might was running on fumes. This was after he got his injury, right? He was running on fumes, and he knew that he was going to lose this battle if he didn't turn the tide somehow. All Might was beginning to charge his final attack to end All Might. All Might then decided that he was going to give it everything he has, and hopefully he could at least stall All For One long enough for him to get away and come up with a plan, because he was running out of time. He then charged at All For One with everything he had, going for a punch. All For One thought this was funny, especially coming from All Might, who was clearly running on fumes, and he used one of his untested quirks that he had recently acquired, and it was a time quirk. When he used this quirk, it affected the entire range, like the entirety of their battlefield, and it reverted time very, very weirdly. And normally the quirk was working pretty fine by sending All Might back to where he started before he had approached All For One, but he lost all the energy he had just stored up in his attack. But before All Might finished fully going back to where he started, the quirk malfunctioned due to the fact that it was working within a user that was not its original owner. The quirk distorted, and it ended up sending All Might back 20 years instead of it actually de-aged his body to when he was in his early 30s instead of just sending him back to where he started. At this point, All Might hadn't actually gotten his injury. If he did, let's just pretend it didn't happen since, to before he got the injury, and basically in his heyday. All Might, with this newfound surge of youthfulness and energy, he went in all for one who was actually shocked at what happened and was getting pretty badly injured by the quirk rejection that was currently happening to him. All Might capitalized on this moment and used it to punch All for One very far away. But All Might still didn't have that much energy. Even though he was in his younger body, he still needed to readjust himself to his younger body, and he had still used up most of his energy. So he wasn't going to continue this fight. So after he sent All for One flying, he then basically took a tactical retreat. This is when he actually stumbled upon the heroes, the heroes who grabbed him and helped him up and took him to their base and patched him up and stuff like that. That's when All Might started getting treated and was told by his doctor that he would need at least a couple weeks for his body to readjust to being young again. Since his body had gotten so used to being old, it actually runs very efficiently. Due to his quirk being the way it is, it basically allows his body to run at its highest efficiency. But because of the fact that his body had got disrupted in this process due to him becoming younger again, it had to redo this, re-going over what it normally goes over to make sure he works at maximum effectiveness. So yeah, he was going through a little bit of a tough time. His doctor told him that he can't do any more hero work, especially since his quirk will be unpredictable and wouldn't be very controlled, seeing as it's trying to readjust itself. So All Might was basically just taking his time, walking around and doing normal stuff, when All Might basically saw that this person was getting attacked by a pretty much villain, I guess you could say. All Might was told specifically not to use his quirk, so he just ran to the guy, and the guy was running his direction, but he was looking back, making sure no one was following him, but wasn't paying enough attention. And All Might basically was just standing in front of him, and the guy ran into All Might's chest and then looked up to see All Might. All Might delivered a swift punch of justice and knocked the poor guy out cold. The woman slowly ran up to see that it was All Might, and at first she was a bit intimidated at the fact that this ginormous man just knocked out another person with one punch, but he then had a warm smile on his face and told her that everything was going to be alright, and he recovered her stolen item. She then immediately felt more comfortable and even less off-put than she was before, and she immediately just wanted to be around this person so much because he emanated a good energy. So she asked if he could take her to the doctor because she thinks something was wrong with her. All Might didn't really think that anything was wrong with her, considering it was just a purse snatching, but his hero instincts took over, and he basically just said, okay, sure. He took her down to the hospital, and like All Might thought, nothing was wrong with her. She then asked that what was his name, and his name would normally go here. I don't remember his name because, I'm so used to calling him All Might. So just his name. Imagine him being called his name, like telling her his name, right? This woman is Inko, as you can probably assess. All Might then asked if she was going to be okay on her own, and she said yes. All Might then began to walk away, but then Inko started thinking to herself, saying, you always do this. You never actually, go after the things that you want. Maybe this time will be different. So she then goes over to Almight and asks Almight if he has anything to do. Since he's off from heroing and, he doesn't really work anywhere aside from being a hero, he doesn't. And she then says, would you like to go on a date sometime? And at first he's pretty shocked that he was asked this because he personally doesn't think he's anything special. But then he just responds to her saying, sure. Do you know the time and place and stuff like that? She then begins getting flustered and doesn't really know what's going on. And All Might then just says, okay, we'll meet at this restaurant and I'll pick you up sometime. I'll pick you up sometime around 8. Is that cool? And she then says yes, and All Might begins to walk off. She says, but wait, I don't have your number. And he says that if she just comes to the place at 8, she doesn't really need his number. But then she begins to frown, and All Might actually uses his mind and brain, like his brain, and thinks, oh, she just wants my number to be able to call me. Jesus, All Might, you have to realize these things. So then he walks back saying, oh, right, you don't, putting his hand on his head. He then puts a smile on her face by giving her his number. Then we fast forward to the exact date and time and the place. They go on the date and everything is going as planned, and they eventually basically just start going out. And then we skip to 1 year later after they've been dating, when Inko is informed by her doctor after having some weird sicknesses that she is now pregnant. She is overjoyed, and All Might is shocked beyond belief and is just frozen. And the doctor then says that she will be delivering at this time and this date, and to come back to meet her with the doctor routinely to give her checkups and stuff like that. So, yeah, she was pretty much astounded by this. Izuku and everyone else. Oh my god, did I just say? I did not realize that Izuku's not even born yet. Jesus. Anyway, we fast forward another year. At this point, All Might's 32. Let's just assume that Inko is 32 as well. We'll say she's 31 just to even it out, I guess. So Inko is on the table about to give birth. So yeah, pretty stressful moment. And she grabs onto All Might's hand, and All Might tells her that everything's going to be okay with a big smile on his face, and she begins to smile as well. She then starts to push, and the doctor then informs her that there's more babies than there should be. And she then screams to the doctor, how many more? And the doctor says, just one. You have a beautiful boy here. And the doctor then puts the baby in All Might's hands and asks her to give one more big push, and she does, and the baby comes out, and it is a girl. And the doctor informs her that she has 2 twins, and that they are identical, but they look nothing alike since they're girl and boy. So yeah, they look similar, but not enough to be called identical twins, but they are. Then we fast forward a couple of years. All Might has always been a very good father, being caring, patient, and all of the other fatherly duties that fathers have, but he always expected a lot. He didn't actually know what was going to happen when it was time for them to get their quirks, because of the fact that his quirk isn't actually his own. It was passed on down to him. So what would happen? Would they get his quirk? And he really didn't know what was going to happen, so he always had high expectations, but didn't allow himself to get too happy. When they both turned 4, they were so excited for the day that had finally come. They knew their father was the number one hero, and that he was very powerful, and they both wanted to be like him. His daughter, however, didn't really want to be about the hero aspect. She more likely just wanted to have his good personality. But when they both turned 4 and they were homeschooled, of course, his daughter's quirk actually awoke. And her quirk was essentially basically his quirk, except better. She had speed and strength, and durability, and all of the whole 9 yards. The only thing that was different is that she could actually shoot lasers from her eyes, which was very, very different from All Might and their mother's quirk, Inko's quirk. When they looked over to see if Izuku had manifested anything, they didn't see anything, and they thought, well, okay. They assumed that it would happen simultaneously since they were twins. They didn't really have any, information to back this up. They just assumed. They assumed that Izuku's quirk would be within a day or two, so they took their daughter to the doctor along with Izuku, and everything was really fine. We already knew what her powers were. Then they examined Izuku. Izuku did have an extra joint, so he was in fact a quirked person. He just didn't have it yet. And as All Might slowly starts to shift away from be seeing them both equally, he begins to slowly prioritize his daughter more than his son, because when he's not working, he's at home, and when he's at home, he's with Izuku's sister. She slowly, after a year, developed the ability to fly, which made him even more impressed with her. All Might, at least. And he started developing and training her because of the fact that he wanted to basically just teach her everything she could, because of the fact that he knew that All For One might know of this and will come for them one day, and he wanted her to be his successor. So, of course, since Izuku hadn't had a quirk yet, he was training her. But a lot. So much to the point where he barely saw his wife and son. It was training his daughter and then going out to work. I'll give her a name right now. Let's say her name is Shizuku. When All Might's training Shizuku, he's going full throttle, teaching her everything she needs to know, but she doesn't really want to be a hero, but she doesn't want to let her father down. At the age of 9, they are both around one day when Deku asks Shizuku if she does want to be a hero, and she then says that she doesn't. And Shizuku is actually shocked by this because of the fact that she's trained so heavily. He just assumed that she did want to be a hero. She went through with it. She then explains that she doesn't actually like being a hero, and the only reason she does it is because she doesn't want to let her father down. Izuku was going to say he understands, but he actually doesn't, because All Might doesn't hold much expectations for him, aside from the normal fatherly stuff, such as getting good grades, acting responsibly, and being kind to other people. Simple stuff. All Might then one day asked Shizuku if she wanted to go on a trip with him to get some real life practical experience. So basically a patrol. And Izuku actually asked his father if he was going to be gone long. He said that typically he isn't, but if something does happen, you should not wait up for them, considering that it could be all night. Inko's a little bit put off by this, especially since they're only 9, but she trusts that All Might will protect their daughter with his life, and knowing he's the number one hero, there's no real cause for concern. She's probably the safest she'll ever be with All Might. So yeah. They go out, and Izuku starts talking to his mother, asking her why she doesn't actually get upset with All Might for not spending more time with them. She then says that she understands the burdens of being a hero, and that it can't be easy for his father to basically juggle being a hero and being a father. And considering the fact that I'm an adult and you have me and don't have a quirk, I wouldn't be surprised if your dad only basically prioritizes her training because of the fact she has a quirk. I don't think it's anything really to do with you. When you get your quirk, I'm sure he'll probably train you as well. Izuku felt slightly better at this, but then began to think. He thought to himself that there was really no way to know about this. It wasn't certain at all. He didn't know if his father actually liked him, or if it was just that he didn't have a quirk yet. He then slammed his fist on the table, and he got angry, and he said, "Why hasn't my quirk manifested yet? I'm 9 years old. It's been quite a while since I went to the doctor. Maybe it'll come soon. Hopefully it does." And then that's when the entirety of the island and the marble table shatters, breaking apart, falling very close to the Inko. As Izuku was walking away, he turns around and sees something, and he asks his mother if she was the cause of it. She then informs Izuku that, as he knows, her quirk doesn't have anything to do with strength, so there's no way she could break this. And Izuku then looks at his own hand and says, "Could it have been me?" She then waits to the next day, and when All Might and his daughter, or Shizuku, or have already been home for a while, Inko brings it up to All Might that what happened last night. All Might gets interested and asks if she's going to take him to the quirk doctor. She then expects and even asks specifically for All Might to go to the doctor with him, with Deku. He picks up what she's putting down and asks Izuku to go so that he could take him to the doctor. The doctor then says, "Oh, my young Izuku, I knew that you'd be back. So, has your quirk finally manifested?" And Izuku, in a very excited tone, says, "I think so, doctor." He says, "Okay then, well, let's not waste any time. I would make you sign up and all of that, but I know you guys, so let's just go ahead and get into it." They start running tests, and about an hour later, they come to the conclusion that Izuku's power, or quirk at least, its name is pretty self-explanatory. The name of the quirk is called Force Multiplier. Anything that Izuku interacts with, that whether it be his own body or anything he's making physical contact with, he can multiply the force that it can create. Like, for example, when Izuku punched on the table, he punched at the table with around 5% force, because he didn't actually want to hurt his hand and he had no intention of actually breaking the marble. Though he just punched it just to prove a point. It was nonchalant. But the power of his quirk, Force Multiplier, multiplied the force by 6, which means that it was well above a full-powered punch from an adult, and by far strong enough to shatter the marble table. The doctor then explains that this applies to almost everything when it comes to Izuku. It comes to his speed, being able to multiply the force he can push off the ground with, his attacks, and his abilities to jump, react, and move. But the only problem is that Izuku's abilities do not give him durability in any sort of way. So if Izuku is hurt or punches something and doesn't use the right amount of force to shatter it, he can seriously injure himself. All Might looks at his son with a smile, saying, "I knew you had it in you, son. All you had to do was wait." All Might then starts laughing and puts his arm around Izuku. The doctor then says, "But wait, I'm not done." Izuku's quirk seems to have a very weird aspect to it. It doesn't seem to operate under normal circumstances. Most of the time, a quirk naturally goes full throttle, but with training, you can understand how to limit how much you output. And All Might says, "Correct." And then the doctor explains that, well, with Izuku's quirk, he can choose how much force to put out with just by saying or visualizing in his mind of a number. And he doesn't actually have to control it. It basically regulates it by itself. In that if Izuku just says times 100, it will be a times 100. Even if Izuku's body normally couldn't produce anywhere near that amount of force. Izuku then looks excitedly with sparkles in his eyes, and he then says, "Dad, do you think now I can become a hero like you?" All Might says, "I believe in you, son, and I'm sure you can accomplish it easily. You know what? How about we start your training? We'll give you around a week to get you settled into your quirk and understand how it works." The doctor gave you a pretty decent explanation, but you should get some practical experience training with your quirk first before you jump right into training. The training I do with Shizuku is hard. Your body can't handle it, so you need to work on your speed. That's going to be your best bet. he tells Izuku this because of the fact that he's basically a glass cannon. So he needs to be fast enough to dodge any incoming attack, no matter how small, because of the fact that, he only has the durability of a normal human. Izuku is then instructed by his father for over the week to work on the quickness that he can activate his quirk and his movement. Izuku does so over the next week, and at the end of the week, walks into the training facility with his sister Shizuku and All Might already practicing. Shizuku runs over to Izuku and hugs him and congratulates him on his awakening of a quirk. And if you're wondering why she only said this now, it's because of the fact that Izuku basically was in solitude for that entire week because he didn't want Shizuku to know or to see his quirk in action. Izuku is then nodded at by his father, and his father then asked him if he did what he instructed, and Izuku then nods, basically saying yes. Izuku is then told that he will be doing the exact same level of training that Shizuku has been doing from where she's at. He believes that there's nothing different between the two of them, and that they're both incredibly strong and smart, so that Izuku, he doesn't have to take it easy on him, just like he doesn't have to take it easy on Shizuku. Shizuku seems a bit worried at the fact that he's going to be going as hard as he has with him, especially since he hasn't done this before. But Izuku seems determined, and Shizuku knows her brother, so they begin. Izuku dashes towards All Might, and then All Might puts his hand up saying, "Stop. That's not how we start things off." And then Izuku then says, "But weren't you two just training with combat?" And Izuku then says, "Oh, right." And All Might then nods, saying, "Yes, you realize it now." All Might and Shizuku don't immediately start fighting. First they stretch, then they meditate, then they get their attitudes ready, then they fight. Izuku speeds through this process quickly because he's eager, and then before he can even talk to All Might, Shizuku says that she wants to see how strong he's gotten. Izuku then cracks his neck and starts moving around and stretching and says, "Okay, let's do this." Once he's finally finished and All Might says go, Shizuku dashes forward to him. She jumps up and then swings down with an axe kick, trying to kick Izuku. Izuku sped off quicker than she could even see. He easily got behind her before her foot even hit the ground. He punched her in the back, sending her straight. She didn't even hit the ground to, bump up and down and hit the wall. She was sent straight flying into the wall. This was the first time that someone aside from her father had actually injured her. This was a very powerful punch. Izuku then informed her that she's tough and built to last, especially since he had to use 25 times force of his normal full force punch. She then says, "Don't get cocky," pushes herself out of the wall, and dashes towards him again. This time she's ready. She knows that Izuku will dodge. Izuku is then ready for her to be ready, and she starts throwing a flurry of punches. Izuku starts dodging and backstepping. He goes around to the opposite side of her, and she opens her eyes harshly, letting out a very sharp beam that almost hits Izuku, actually cutting his hair a bit. He then goes over to the side and starts delivering punches quickly. She blocked all of the punches and landed to the ground successfully. She then uses her lasers again to try to keep Izuku away, seeing that he can actually put her down if he puts enough force into it. Now that Izuku knows how much she can handle, he knows to go over it. And knowing his sister Shizuku, he knows she won't go down easy. Even if it hurts, she'll continue to keep on fighting. So he needs to put her down with one shot to the point where she can't get up again. And is completely knocked out. Izuku then goes for the punch, zigzagging, jumping, and dodging around her I-beams. She then begins to fly, saying, "Now what?" Izuku jumps up, and with around 30% times force multiplied, he sends a punch so devastatingly strong that it actually creates wind pressure that pushes Shizuku all the way to the other side of the multi-football field sized training area. and she ends up hitting the wall hard and falls to the ground, knocked out cold. Almight, having his eyes closed the entire time, not even noticing, opens his eyes saying, "Okay, son, you seem to know what you're doing, but can you handle me?" But I think that's where I'm going to end this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know if you want to see the next part of this. I think this is good. You guys probably think it's good too. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. So yeah, without any further ado, peace.